30. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Kamari Ellis here with another installation of the Finance Rebel Show. Today is our Saturday segment, our Wealthy Conversation segment. I'm here a little bit late, but I'm here nonetheless, all right? It's better to be late than not show up at all, right? So I'm here. And, we're going to do our normal market rundown. We're going to do our regular two-step. But today, I want to talk about something I usually don't talk about. I want to talk about student loans. Now, the last time I talked about student loans and student loan debt, I interviewed the student loan doctor, Sonia Lewis. Now, that was, I think, last year sometime. But again, I want to talk about it because I shared a post on my Instagram feed about Joe Biden forgiving over $3 billion in student loan debt. And the response I got to that post was overwhelming. A lot of people ask me, how do you do it? Who's it for? I mean, it just goes to show that a lot of people are really, really burdened with student loan debt, don't know what to do about it, and are really, really concerned about it. It's something that's keeping people up at night. So I said I would at least go over some of the things and share some of the resources that I saw from my research that I did. All righty. So I see Don Johnson's in the building. How are you, sir? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm running a little late today, but again, I'm here. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate everybody being here that's here tuned in. All right. So listen, student loan debt is a thing. It really is a thing. But before we get into that, we got to do our normal market rundown, right? So today we're looking at the markets, and the market closed yesterday. The S&P 500 closed at $4,166. The S&P closed at $4,166. The market was down week to date, 1.91%, almost 2% week to date. All right. Stock market is still up almost 11% year to date. So from January 1 till Friday's close, the market is still up almost 11%. Now, the market got shocked a little bit this week because the Fed Reserve said, yes, there is some inflation jumping off. We still feel it's transitory, AKA short-lived. And that's evidenced by what's going on with lumber. Saw lumber prices hit an all-time high in May. Forget the number off the top of my head, but hit an all-time high. But last week, lumber collapsed by over 40%. So that's what they mean when they say transitory. Like, you'll see some things run up just because of the conditions that are in the market right now. A lot of pent-up demand. People are buying homes. People are still looking to build homes. So there is still big demand for lumber globally, not just in the United States, but globally. So, but we're seeing those prices fall. But the Fed announced that they're not going to raise rates. However, they're going to be on the lookout to potentially raise rates quicker than anticipated before. All right. Oil closed at $71.50. Kind of flat on the week. Oil, though, is still up 47% year to date. 47% year to date. We saw a lot of issues happen with the Texas freeze over, pipeline freeze is over. A lot of that, people are out moving again, right? They got the vaccine, they got that shot in their arm. People are out here outside, they're moving around, they're going on trips. I'm seeing a lot of pictures floating around with people just moving around. Even myself, last week, I wasn't here to do our normal Saturday thing because I was in Florida at a conference, at a tax conference. Some people were like, who goes on a tax conference? Tax professionals like me. So people are moving around. Gold oftentimes is looked at as a stable value of value, as a stable value. What am I trying to say, y'all? As a storing place for stable value, right? So we've seen gold run up almost to $2,000. But right now, gold closed $1,764. $1,764. Down 5% week to date, right? So from last Friday to Friday just passed, it's down almost 5%. Year to date, gold is down 7.75%. So gold's down. So a lot of people are starting to move their assets around. They're starting to put them in other places. They're not necessarily just going to buy into gold as a safe haven asset. That was the term I was looking for, a safe haven asset. All right. But like I said earlier, a lot of things are starting to happen now. Fed made announcements this week. They came out with Biden making announcements this week about student loans. FHA came out with a new rule this week as relates to student loans. So student loans are very much in focus today. I tried to get some of my mortgage experts on to talk about student loans, either Mr. Robert Lewis or Elizabeth Parrish. They are vacationing, so I couldn't get anybody on. But what it looks like is going on, and I'll get them, on at some point, hopefully in the next week or so, to talk about this, is that there's new guidelines for FHA loans. So before, when you were going for a mortgage to buy a home, you would have to factor in your student loan payments, the full value of it. It seems like now that value has been reduced, and it's going to make it a lot easier for people to get into homes now that they don't have the burden, or not as much of a burden, with student loan debt. Now, not talking about student loans being wiped out, just talking about a different criteria for which FHA actually underwrites those mortgages. So this is going to be really, really interesting. I mean, the real estate market is already overheated in many, many places. This could make it really, really hot in some of those places, and potentially spread out to some of the underserved markets or underappreciated markets, as people now are able to work virtual, right? They don't have to necessarily go to an office, even though people are going back into the office. There is more flexibility now. So as we get more flexibility in terms of work style, workplace, you have more options and more flexibility in terms of where you can live and reside in terms of that. So if you work in Philadelphia, you don't necessarily have to live in Philadelphia. If you work in New York, you don't necessarily have to live in New York. You can work in New York. Matter of fact, I got a homegirl who lives in Virginia, right? She lives in Virginia. Her office is in New York. She's about to move to Texas. Her office is still in New York. So for those who are able to do things and have built up equity with their employers, they'll be able to move around a lot easier than many others. So that's going to be really, really interesting. So, like I said, I got a lot of people asking me about student loans this week. And, like I said, I'm usually not the student loan guy. I know a lot of people speak about student loans in a negative perspective or a negative framework. I got a boatload of student loans, y'all, but I'm actually happy that I got student loans because I was able to go to college, which was able to help me get an education to be here today, right? To speak to my community, to speak to many other people. And what I always say is that we have such a negative college vantage point these days, that we're often forgetting that most of the jobs that are key societal building jobs require college, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's an architect, whether it's scientists, whether it's politicians. Well, politicians don't need college, so scratch that one. However, y'all get my point. If we have to be very, very clear. And when I say our community, I'm talking about the Black community. Our community has to be very clear about where we want to go. And if we are absent from these places, we get screwed over. The saying is, if you don't have a seat at the table, then you are on the menu. Meaning that if you're not there to represent the interest of you and your folks at the table, then you will be eaten alive, because there's no stopgap, there's no defense. And so oftentimes we need folks to go to college, right? So when we look at it from the Black community standpoint, and again, college has gone up astronomically, I think we have to start looking to say, how can we collectively potentially send some of our young scholars to school and not just say school isn't for everybody, because I believe school is actually college that is actually for more of us than we realize. We got a lot of young geniuses in our community, and they have in our community in large, not everybody does not really appreciate the value of education. And I'm not just talking about whitewash education. I'm talking about education through and through, real education. All right. So listen, just to talk about student loans, right? The student loan forgiveness that everybody has been asking me about. Again, Joe Biden, matter of fact, let me go find the article. Joe Biden, 6 months, 5 months into office, has forgiven $2.8 billion in student loan debt. Again, $2.8 billion in student loan debt. That's not all of it. There's a whole lot more out there. But let me just pull up one of the articles that I shared on my Instagram and Facebook feed. Again, a lot of people were asking about this, overwhelming amount. Now, I will say this: everybody does not qualify for student loan forgiveness, but we're gonna go through it. There are certain situations, and Biden hasn't officially gotten to what they're going to do about student loans. So it's important to keep the pressure on political figures, elected officials who are empowered to be decision makers, or at least have influence on decision makers, as we get up to the point where Biden and Congress come to a conclusion about what they're going to do about student loan forgiveness. Like we many times we think it's all up to many times we feel it's all up to elected officials, but elected officials work for us. So we really have to start to understand that, and embrace that. But I'm not going to get political on y'all today, I promise. I know that's not what y'all here for today. All right, so let me pull up this article real quick so we can talk about it. Because again, I know a lot of people have been asking about this. Alrighty. All right, so Forbes. I got this on Forbes. I shared this on my IG feed. All right, so Forbes magazine announced Biden has now canceled $3 billion of student loans, right? This is in my article. I didn't write it. Zach Friedman wrote it. It's important to give attribution. If you don't give attribution, you are stealing, folks. This is a quick aside. I know we love to do that in the day of social media. Even myself sometimes go a little too fast, and I might share something and not remember to say who actually wrote it or said it. But that's not right. So I just want to put it out there. So again, Biden has now canceled $3 billion in student loans. Okay. So article just runs through. President Biden has now canceled nearly $3 billion, folks, with a B, of student loan debts. However, here's what you need to know. All right. So it just runs through that. Since becoming president in January, like January 21st, right? So we talking about 5 months here. Biden has canceled more, or 6 months now. Biden has canceled more than $2 billion of student loans, including another big announcement for student loan cancellation today. So yesterday, the other day, it was like another $500 million for student loans. All right. So here's the rundown of what he canceled. So Biden canceled $1 billion of student loans for 72,000 student loan borrowers. Biden canceled another $1.3 billion of student loans for 41,000 with total and permanent disability. That's a good thing. Biden granted student loan relief for 1.1 million student loan borrowers who defaulted on their FFELP. I'm not sure what FFELP. I would have to look. I need to look that up. All right. Then it says here, so it says Biden canceled $500 million for student loan debt for 18,000 student loan borrowers under the borrower defense. So that's what he did the other day, the borrower defense program. And the borrower defense program is when people got juked, right, by an establishment that they went to. Y'all want a story? I'm one of those people. I went to computer. What was it called? I went to Computer Learning Center back in like 96, 95. A lot of y'all probably wasn't born then. Some of y'all wasn't born then, but they promised me jobs. They promised me, like this high 5-figure salary. I didn't get it. I did get a job, but I got it on my own. I didn't get the high 5-figure salary until years after, but that was all through me. Now, the school prepared me for some of the language, kind of, sort of, some programming and some other things, but I never got a job as a programmer, and that's what I went to school for. I wound up becoming a network engineer. Go figure. But it still introduced me to the tech scene, and I made some good money during those years, during the late 90s. So now here, I'm not going to go through this, right? It talks about student loan cancellation, what America thinks. So you got a group of people out there who thinks that student loan cancellation is a good thing. And then you got another group of people out there, the welfare shamers, as I like to call them, and think it's a bad thing. But those folks never talk about corporate welfare and how much money the government gives to corporations who are squarely profitable, meaning they don't need the money, but they still give it to them. All right, so Hooked on Chem 251 help me out. FFELP is Federal Family Education Loan Program. Again, Federal Family Education Loan Program. So that's what that was the last program that Biden rolled out. All right, so give me 1 second. We'll keep going through this. We will keep going through this. All right, so, and then you have your supporters. Some people don't want to pay for nothing. I say fair doesn't exist. However, you can get pretty close to equality if you're really thinking the matter all the way through. You're never gonna satisfy all of the people. That just will never happen. However, if you really work through a situation, it can be fair and equitable for everyone. Well, again, I don't believe in fair, but it can be equitable for all parties involved. I don't really see that today. All right, so going down through this, and I have another piece I want to share with y'all. All right, so student loan cancellation, next steps. There will be more student loan cancellation. There are at least 4 ways that Biden can enact student loan cancellation. And we've been seeing this since the beginning of his term, right? They want him to use the executive orders. Some people want him to do $50,000 in student loan forgiveness. Some people want him to do, or Biden himself said he thinks 10,000 would be fair. Again, fair doesn't exist, right? You get what you can negotiate for in all things, in all phases of life. The better you have leverage to negotiate, the more you can make things move. It's not about, again, what's right or wrong. It's not about what's fair. It's what you can negotiate for, and all the facets and things that go into negotiation. And that's one thing I think the Black community needs to really learn and study, because again, part of the way you get leverage in this country is through the political system. Many of us poo-poo the political system, but again, don't understand how we got leverage. By the way, I would be remiss if I did not say happy Juneteenth to everybody that's watching right now. If you don't know what Juneteenth is a celebration of the supposed last people that were enslaved in the United States given their freedom. Even though the Emancipation Proclamation was signed in 1863, which only freed the enslaved people in the Confederate areas or the rebel areas, not everybody in the United States. But there was a last holdout of people that were in Texas, slave owners that wanted to keep them on the plantation, and didn't let them go until Juneteenth, 1865, right? They had to send soldiers there to get them to release folks. And so now today has become a national holiday. I found this out the hard way. I saw it was signed, didn't really realize it until I had to call. I had to call the IRS, and they were off work. Nobody answered the phone. So again, I talk about Juneteenth and the prospect of how political process oftentimes is slow, but you got to keep working at it. Many people feel like Juneteenth became a holiday, like out of thin air. But there's a sister in Texas. I want to say Mama Opal Lee, who's been working on it for decades and decades and decades. And now it's finally come to fruition. So it came through years of hard work and struggle. Now, some people were saying, well, where's my check? You know, where's the reparations? And I get it. I get it. Again, I've said on this show plenty of times that reparations is indeed owed, but I don't have any faith that it will come. However, with that being said, I'm in full support of those who are going after it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to start looking for ways to donate and do other things for those who are actually pushing for reparations. In the meantime, though, I'm going to continue to work on myself and those in my circle to be great and be supportive in all of their endeavors. Now, back to student loans. Again, I said all to say that politics is a process. Politics takes time. We have to understand that. We have to stay vigilant on doing our work, doing our duty, understanding the process, understanding the system, and then applying pressure as we need to. All right. So again, Biden's not sure what he's going to do yet. Again, there is some mix up about the legality of how much Biden can constitutionally relieve with an executive order. Now, many people push back and they say the precedence is there, meaning that they've done it before, right? With the Trump administration, when the Trump administration froze all student loan payments and interest collections. So they're saying the precedent's there, but the will's not there. I think the will's there. I think Biden just wants to get it right. I think the Biden team wants to get it right. And so I don't think it's fair, and I'm not defending Biden, I'm just talking about the process. I don't think it's fair for y'all to expect somebody to come in and in 5 months really solve this student loan debt crisis. I don't think it's fair at all. And like I said, I got mad student loans, all right? And listen, I will be out rejoicing, partying, and probably running around naked in the streets if my student loans got canceled. But again, I don't have much faith in that. All right, so let's just go over a couple stats real quick. And I want to show y'all something else. All right, so over the last 10 years, college tuition is up 16%. Student loan debt is up 100%. Right now, again, a lot of people poo-poo going to college, but college, right, works really, really well for low-skilled people because of automation, because of technology. People that on average tend to go to college and get a degree typically make 80% more than those who did not. All right. They make 80% more than those who did not. There's about 165 billion in student loan debts that are in default. All right. So just keep all those stats in mind because again, it's a big problem. It's a big, big problem. And again, it's going to take time to figure it out. Can they figure it out with a snap of a finger? Yeah. But again, when you think about politics, once you make one move, you always got somebody on the other side waiting to counter it, just like chess. So you got to protect your king at all times. If y'all get that analogy. All right. So I did find some of the applications, or not some, one of the applications where you can apply for debt cancellation. It is a process. I have not personally gone through this process at all. But again, like I said, there were so many people who asked about this. I at least wanted to bring some kind of clarity and direction that people could go in the path to find. All right, so here's another piece, again, written by the same guy at Forbes. All right, so bear with me 1 second. Bear with me 1 second. All right, so the question is, do you qualify for $2.3 billion of student loan forgiveness? Again, Forbes.com. All right, so this goes down through the different programs of what you can do. And there's also a link in there that I found that I'll share in a second, right? So again, since the beginning of January, he's canceled $2.3 billion in student loan debt. That doesn't include that extra $500 million that we talked about that he did the other day. All right, student loan cancellation, $1 billion student loans. Again, they're just recapping what I already went over. All right, so here's who qualifies, right? You qualify for cancellation of debt, not the executive order, but you qualify to apply for student loan cancellation where your college or university misled or defrauded you, or your school closed permanently, right? So remember I talked about me going to computer learning center. That's part of my big student loan debt. Not to mention community and Temple. And the fact that I was the single parent, or let's not say single parent, I was the custodial parent at the time. So I racked up a lot of debt. You apply for student loan cancellation under borrower defense, the student loan repayment forgiveness. You prove to the United States Department of Education that your school misled or defrauded you, or that your school closed permanently. All right. You suffered financial harm. Okay. Again, you suffered financial harm. And the other way you can get it as well is you already got some student loan cancellation, but not all your student loans were canceled. So you can go in and have had some of your student loans canceled. You can go back and reapply for more. So again, it's a process, y'all. It's a process. How to get student loan forgiveness through borrower. Okay, this kind of goes through that. So it says complete the borrower defense repayment application. So I have the link for the repayment application. Let me go ahead and throw that in the link right now. My IG people and my podcast replay people, I apologize because you can't see this. Matter of fact, but what I will do is I will put it in the chat on the podcast link. All right. I will put it in the chat in the podcast link. So my podcast listeners will get it. And I'm trying to think of how I can get it on my IG feed. I'm not sure, especially on a fly like this. All right. So you got to complete the application. That's the link I just put in the chat. That will be in the description as well. You have to prove monetary harm, right? So we can't be faking this. Like the guy walking down the street who saw an accident, just went down, laid down and said he got hit by a car too. All right, you really have to prove that you were economically injured. All right, the United States Department of Government will compare earnings of prior graduates from your academic program to the earnings of graduates of comparable programs to make a determination of monetary harm. All right, then you have to provide any supporting documentation, sign the certificate or sign the certification, and submit it. Okay, so, again, there is a process. If that's you, if you really were damaged, if you were really harmed with student loans, again, the jury is still out on how much Biden is going to forgive in terms of student loan forgiveness. But again, he's going to forgive something. I don't know if it's 10,000. I don't know if it's 50,000. I don't know if it'll be 10,000 each year. I don't know if it's 50,000 each year, but I'm sure he's going to do something. So you all have the information now. You can go on out, at least start the process. What I would also encourage many of you to do is go back and watch the video of the student loan doctor that I have. It's on my YouTube channel. Matter of fact, I will put that in the link as well. Also, I would go follow the student loan doctor, Sonia Lewis, as well, because she is the subject matter expert on student loans. All right. I will not claim to be a jack of all trades. And I'll talk about some things from a outside view in, but if I haven't done it or experienced it or studied it, I don't talk about it too much. I kind of like to stay in my lane. Not out of fear, but out of stewardship. And what do I mean by that? There's a lot of these so-called people on social media that will talk about things that they've got like 5 minutes of expertise in, and they don't understand all the different angles and ramifications of what they're saying to folks. And ultimately, people don't do their research, right? But they get damaged, they get hurt. And can you blame the folks giving out the so-called information? Yes and no. But if you are really about helping people, right, it's like the doctors, their first oath is to do no harm. We could debate that. But for the most part, I do believe most doctors are good and upstanding folks. But again, their whole thing is to do no harm. I kind of have the same approach. I don't want to do any harm, so I would rather not talk about things that I really don't have any expertise in. So I always say beware of those folks who always say to do this because it worked for me. Kind of had an instance like that the other day, but I'm not going to go into that too much. But yeah, here is the student loan doctor's interview. Again, reach out to the student loan doctor as well. Dope person, song is dope, and definitely can be helpful with your journey. Now, I've been kind of redoing the format a little bit. I speak to y'all. I usually speak to y'all at the beginning of the show, but now I tend to do it at the end, especially on Saturdays, just because it makes the replay a lot better. But just wanted to get into these comments and say what's up to people. Don Johnson's in the building. How you doing, Don? Hey, Miss Charlene. How you doing? How you been? All right. Shani Alexander says mortgage loans are decreasing the DTI for student loans. Yes. So the DTI is debt to income ratio. So it's going to make it a lot easier for folks to get mortgages. All right. Hey, Katisa, how you doing? Happy Saturday. Yep. Happy Juneteenth. Yes. All right. So now Black folks got two official holidays, right? We got Martin Luther King Day. That's federally observed. We got Dr. Martin Luther King Day, and we also have Juneteenth now. So it's a good thing. It's not perfect. I know people want more, but it is what it is, folks, and it takes what it takes. It takes time. All right, so what's up, Tangeray, Jazzy P, Hooked on Kim, how are you? Malik, how are you? DJ Clay, how are you? Lindsay McMoney, I like that name, McBuddy. You know what? You were on the other day. I can't pronounce your name right. You never told me how to say it. How'd you last job? And Jay Benjamins, how's everybody today? So again, I'm not going to stay on too long, folks. Again, I appreciate all of you watching the Finance Rebel Show. We are here at least every Wednesday and at least every Sunday. If y'all all are looking for me out in these social media streets, you could always find me in the Finance Rebel Academy on Facebook. Again, the Finance Rebel Academy. Go on over, answer a couple questions, and I'll let you in, and we can talk about money all week long, not just on Wednesday and Saturday. So, all right, folks, I want to get out. Like I said, I gotta get back to my workout regimen. I was looking at my Nike Run app. Last year in May, I ran 100 miles. I ran almost every day, sometimes twice a day. Fast forward a year later, I lost all those gains. So listen, here's the thing, and I've learned this a long time ago. Don't always practice it, but I learned it. Slow and steady wins the race, y'all. Just stay consistent. Don't fall off the wagon. Just do a little bit. Just do a little bit of something every day. If you're trying to get more knowledge in the field, read 5 minutes of a book every day. If you're trying to lose weight, at least walk, move 5 minutes of the day, right? And I'm not a trainer, I'm not a teacher, but the only thing I do know is consistency, right? Because typically, if you get moving 5 minutes, listen, 2 minutes, that's not all you want to do. But if you just get in your mind, just get over this little goal, you'll keep moving forward. And adding all that time up, adding up all those movements, adding up all that repetition and developing the habit is the real true secret. You got to develop the habits. And so I kind of had the habit. I was moving, I was working out, then I lost the habit. And then COVID didn't help, right? But listen, we all have to be accountable for all our actions. I can't blame COVID. I can only blame me, right? COVID didn't happen to me. I happened to COVID, I guess. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. All right, so listen, y'all be good. Y'all be great. Work on something every day, right? Work on something to move you closer to your goal every day. Greatness doesn't happen by sitting still, right? Greatness happens by moving forward consistently. You got to keep moving, y'all. All right. So again, I appreciate you all. I'm Kamari Ellis. I'm out. Until next time, everybody have a great weekend and happy Juneteenth. Remember our ancestors. Remember our elders who have fought for us, and make sure we honor them at all times. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.